Happy Nurses Week. In honor of Nurses Week, I'm going to tell you a few facts about me, why I became a nurse, what made me get into the nursing field, what am I doing now as a nurse, and how has nursing helped my life. All while I'm doing my makeup, y'all. So I've been a nurse for about 13 years now. I graduated with my associate's degree first in 2013. I've been a nurse for 13 years now. Oh my gosh, I can't even believe it. And my journey of becoming a nurse was not an easy one, y'all. I was denied to 5 nursing schools before I finally got accepted into the associate's program. So never stop trying. I knew I wanted to become a nurse and nothing was gonna stop me. So I was gonna keep applying until I finally got into a program that was for me. And after applying for 5 programs and being rejected, I told myself, you know what, maybe this isn't for me, but I wasn't gonna stop trying. I came in with a plan B, because your girl always finds solutions to all of her problems, okay? My backup plan was respiratory therapy at Georgia State University. And I got accepted into the respiratory therapy program immediately. So I said, you know what? I'm gonna do this for a semester while also applying for nursing schools. I don't care if it's a 4-year university. I don't care if it's a 2-year technical school. I'm gonna keep applying until I get there. So I was gonna have my respiratory therapy degree. And I said, okay, I can have nursing on the side then if that's the case, because I know that I have this vision of going to nursing school and it's gonna work out for me. So in my first semester of respiratory school, I got notice that I was accepted into my nursing program. So you know what I did? I told them, you know what, y'all? I'm not coming back. I'm gonna be a nurse. So I dropped out of the program and I chose a technical college over a 4-year university to be a respiratory therapist. On my first day of nursing school, everyone has to stand up and say, why do you want to become a nurse? Why do you want to become a nurse? And you know what my response was? My response was, because I know I'll always have a job. And it'll also give me flexibility, because in the back of my mind, I knew that I would be traveling the world full time, and I didn't know how that was going to happen, but I knew that I would need a flexible schedule to get me there. And so that's what I said. And when I said that, everybody started looking at me crazy like, oh, I'm like, that's my truth. I can't tell you anything else with my truth. So it is what it is. Nurses get a bad reputation sometimes when people say that, oh, I'm in nursing because I know that I'll always have a job. Because for some strange reason, people think that nurses don't need to survive, and they think that you're supposed to just sacrifice yourself for the benefit of others. But it is a career at the end of the day. Healthcare is a business at the end of the day. We need to always realize that when you're going into the hospitals, you don't go for free. You're not going based on love. The doctors are getting paid too. Everybody is getting paid. But I also have a passion for health and wellness, as you can see now. So I knew that it will all just come together. It'll all come together. So throughout my career as a nurse, I have worked any and everywhere, because one thing I told myself is that this degree is my investment and I'm going to take full advantage of my investment. I treated my degree like an investment portfolio. So I made sure to utilize every area, every specialty. And what that looks like is I worked everywhere. I did everything. I didn't make myself stay in a specialty for a long time. And when I knew that it was time to grow, because for me, I love to learn. And with nursing, you can learn for the rest of your life in many different areas. So that's what I wanted to do. So with my first job, I worked in med-surg, night shift, and I did that for exactly 365 days to get my first year of experience. And then I finally moved to Atlanta in 2014, and I worked at one of the biggest hospitals in downtown Atlanta on a med-surg renal floor. Yeah, I worked in med-surg. I did bedside for 2 years, and after that, I realized that bedside just wasn't for me, and I told myself, girl, go back to school. So I became a family nurse practitioner first, and then when I became a family nurse practitioner, I was able to work in retail health, urgent care, weight loss. I did everything, y'all. I took full advantage of my degree. And one thing you should know about me, I'm gonna pivot. I am a professional pivoter. I pivot for a living. And I feel like whenever you're nursing, because there's so many specialties and so many things that you can do, it's okay to pivot. It is okay to change jobs. That is okay. So after working as a family nurse practitioner in urgent care and also retail health, I found that I was getting a lot of mental health clients. And I kept asking them, why aren't you going to see a mental health provider? Why don't you go see a psychiatrist? Why don't you go see a therapist? And they would always tell me that I can't find anyone. I can't find anyone. And so then I started looking into the area of psychiatry as a specialty. I said, oh, wait a minute. I can be the one. I can be the one. I don't have to be here doing this. I can just be the one in psychiatry. Because a lot of times In family nurse practitioner programs, yes, we cover mental health, but not in depth. We don't cover mental health like we do in the psychiatric mental health nurse practitioner program. So I told myself, okay, now it's time to go back to school. I am also a professional learner, y'all. I'm done with school right now, but yeah, your girl had been to school a lot. So after going back to school for psychiatry, I realized that this is exactly where I needed to be. And I think for a long time, I was a little bit scared of psychiatry because I heard so many horror stories. So this is why you should never listen to anybody. Just always follow your heart and do what you want to do. But in the end, it worked out well for me because now, as a holistic provider or somebody who considers the holistic aspect of healthcare, the family nurse practitioner came in handy. So I'm glad that I did FNP first, and then I transitioned over to the psychiatric mental health nurse practitioner role. So even when I became a Psych NP, I was never afraid to pivot. So as a psychiatric nurse practitioner, I worked in IOP, outpatient, inpatient, travel. I was a psychiatric consult liaison. I was not afraid to pivot, ever. Because that's how I gained most of my knowledge, through pivoting. If I would have stayed in one position, I would just know one field. But because I was able to pivot and I was so flexible and I was able to stretch myself and be willing to learn in these specialties, then the knowledge and wisdom followed immediately after. And I made sure to always place myself in uncomfortable roles so that it can challenge me, so that I can learn. I was the director of psychiatry services at an FQHC facility, and then I was the inpatient psychiatric consult liaison for one of the biggest hospitals in Atlanta, downtown. So you can only imagine the clients that I was able to see working downtown in Atlanta by myself doing rounds. It was so fun, y'all. It was so fun. I truly love that position as far as my clients. But management, I had to go and pivot again. But this time with the pivot, I was going to work for myself. And that's what I did next. And after working in healthcare for so long, just like many other providers, I experienced a burnout. So I told myself, it might be better for me to work for myself. And that's how I started my private practice, RivaWell, especially after I experienced a spiritual awakening. And I didn't feel like any providers could really relate to my experience without calling it psychosis or delusional. Because I could now see things and hear things and smell things that didn't seem normal. But to me, I knew that it wasn't a delusion. I knew that it wasn't paranoia. It was real. And I needed for someone to validate that experience. I needed to see someone who specialized in spirituality. And it was so hard for me to find anyone. So I said, you know what? I'm going to be the one. I'm going to be the one for people to bridge science and spirituality so they know that this is a part of the process. Whenever you are experiencing a spiritual awakening, this is a part of the process. You're not psychotic, you're just remembering things. Having my private practice has been the best decision I've ever made. It allowed me to set my own schedule. It allowed me to be in control of the clients that I see. It allowed me to not overwork myself. It allowed me to spend more time with clients. It allowed me to actually be present without being rushed. It just helped me in many different ways. Now, has it been easy? No, it hasn't, but whatever is easy, it's typically not good for you. So I said, you know what? I'm always up for the challenge. This is why I pivoted so much, to prepare myself for moments like this. So that when I pivot again and do something that's, sort of drastic for my nervous system, then it just feels like a normal Tuesday. It's a Tuesday. We're in the process of opening my private practice. I told myself that in order to market, I need to get on social media. And that was something that was completely foreign to me. Listen, y'all, I didn't even know how to work TikTok over a year ago. I was on Snapchat asking people, how do you work TikTok? How do you work TikTok? And so I just started learning as I went. Again, another pivot. So when you find that it's easy for you to change your mind, the pivot doesn't seem so bad for your nervous system. And I looked back at all the jobs that I had and how many people kept telling me, you're never going to find anything if you keep changing jobs like this. But changing jobs and pivoting allowed for me to open my own practice and pivot and travel around the world seeing clients. So I'm so happy that I was able to do that. And even now, I feel like I can help my clients a bit more because I pivoted in so many different areas. Because I was able to gain so much experience and knowledge in all these specialties. So when I see my clients, I can see the whole picture. I can zoom out and see everything. So don't be afraid of the pivot, y'all. Sometimes the pivot is just there to help you down the road. I'm going for a brown look today, just bronzy. I don't want to do too many colors today. And working for myself healed my burnout, and it gave me my peace back. It really gave me my peace of mind back, because I feel like I was losing it. working in corporate medicine. Sometimes corporate medicine can do that to you. And I truly felt like at a certain point, it was going to either be stay in this profession and burn out continuously, or go chase my dreams and have my life back again. So I chose my life. I chose to do the hard thing. I chose the unknown. I chose possibly not making as much money in the beginning and doing the hard things in order to get my freedom back, in order to feel like myself again. Because when you're experiencing burnout, it can truly feel like the end of the world. You can't even think straight. And that's where I was. And I didn't think that it would be beneficial for myself and also for the clients if I'm burnt out and I'm trying to help them with their mental health and I need help. So I helped myself by leaving and started my own practice. And guess what? I would do it all over again. So sometimes the pivot is just setting you up for the future you. It's not always a bad thing, y'all, to pivot. It's not always a bad thing to leave. I don't know why we started to believe that leaving is such an awful thing to do. Leaving is godly. Leaving is a good thing. Especially when you know that you are completely out of alignment. It is best for you, your mental health, and for your body to leave. When you no longer feel safe, when you no longer feel like you can practice safely, you need to leave. And that's where I was. I just didn't feel like it was safe for me and my license. You need to leave. I'm sitting up here telling clients to put themselves first, to have healthy boundaries. I said, you know what? You gotta practice what you preach, girl. You can't just preach it, you gotta practice it too. And boy, when I started practicing it, the world just opened up for me. And while yes, it is a journey, life is a journey. I was gonna be on a journey anyway. I was gonna be on a journey there in the hospital, or I was gonna be on my own personal journey. And I chose my own personal journey, my own personal legend. And I'm still walking. I'm still opening doors. I'm still trying new things. I'm still pivoting. I'm still doing the hard thing. I'm still believing and trusting in the unknown. I'm still doing all of that because it's never done. And you can't get it wrong. When you learn to find the lesson in everything that you do, nothing is ever wrong. It's always right. It's just right for you. So in this journey, in this process, I've had my ups and downs, but it's just right for me. So now, I create content full-time, and I have my full-time practice, and I travel the world. And I could have never done that working full-time in corporate medicine. So I chose me. Over and over again, I choose me. I'm not gonna lie. Sometimes, I think to myself, what am I really doing? But I think that I'll be thinking worse thoughts if I was in the hospital with bad management telling me to do things that aren't beneficial for the clients. So if you ever have to choose between your mental health and the unknown, choose the unknown. Because if your mental health isn't right, nothing is right. You can't enjoy the money. You can't enjoy the success. You can't enjoy anything. Your health is bad. Your body is bad. You can't be happy with anything if your mental isn't right. And sometimes that may look like taking a pay cut. And sometimes maybe not. Because I found that my life is more rich in different areas now. In community, in friendships, in love, in health, in spirituality. Abundance shows up in many places for me now. And not just a paycheck, not just a salary.